friend. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with you today. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Networking Know-How, where we help you network stress-free like we do in our down and dirty networking community. And I'm super excited. I've got something super special for you today. I have a business strategy coach and the host of the Be She podcast and the host of the upcoming Be She Summit, Heidi Schock. She's going to be talking to us about creating authentic connections. And who doesn't want an authentic connection? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, if we have not yet connected, or if this is your first time tuning in, let me introduce myself. I'm Laura Morlando, the Stress Commando, and I am the founder and CEO of Down and Dirty Networking. Now, if you're watching live or on replay, please say hi in chat, because one of the things I love about what I do is connecting with people from all over the globe. And as we get into the conversation with Heidi, feel free to interact with chat so that this can be a more meaningful and engaging conversation. And yes, even if you're watching on replay. So live or replay, we will still interact with you in chat on your replay, because we do read all of the comments. So make sure to interact with us no matter whether you're watching live or on replay. Now, first things first, before we dive into the training, I do have some exciting news for you. Registration is now open for our next 100% relational networking event. If you are watching live or on replay, I invite you to attend to experience what this relational networking movement is all about. So drop me a direct message, drop me a message or DM with the words #sneak peek, and I will send you a personal invitation to the virtual sneak peek event happening in just a couple of weeks on April the 19th. You're going to want to secure your spot so that you can experience how relational networking is your professional easy button. So if you're tired of things being hard, if you're tired of being on the island of alone, and you dislike being salesy and being sold to, this is for you. So drop a DM with #sneak peek to get your personalized invitation. Okay, now before I bring Heidi up, bring our very special guest, I wanted to share a little bit about how I got to know Heidi. We met in the mastermind I'm a member of. Heidi was my business strategy coach for the past year, and she was amazing and super helpful. She is authentic, helpful, and passionate about helping women elevate their voices and visibility. And she's definitely elevated my voice, and she's elevated my business. Now, before I bring her up, I see people tuning in live. Thanks for watching live. Say hi in chat. Now, before I bring her up live, I want to make sure, so before I bring her on stage, I want to make sure you guys are engaging in chat. Make sure you post any questions that you have for us, any gratitude, any commentary or comments to the conversation that we're going to be having. It'll make it much more fun for you. Okay, so let's bring Heidi up to the stage. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat and dive in with you today.
I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for doing this for me. And I am super grateful for the fact that you and I've had this. You've been such a blessing to me for me to be able to connect with you in the mastermind and to have you as my business coach, and now moving into colleague and friend. I love all of that. Would you care to share? Is there anything else that I didn't cover about how we met that you'd like to add?
That's how we met, which is fabulous. I am just so blessed and grateful to have you in my life now as a friend, not just working with you, but also as a friend, and to be able to collab like this and do things together and support each other, because that's what relationships are, and what authentic connections, that's what authentic connections create, is things like this, and friendships evolve. So I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for all you do and for what you're doing to help people with networking. Because I know for me, that was really, it was a stressful thing until I learned dove deeper in with you.
Okay, so let's go there. So why was networking so stressful for you? I know why I found it stressful, but I'm curious, why was it so stressful for you?
Well, I'm just used to the old fashioned way of networking. You go in a room and you kind of got to talk to people and connect. And I'm an introvert. So now I can get out there and turn my camera on and go live. But then there's times where I just need to decompress and be alone and process. So walking into a room or a big event and and then just all the noise, all the people, I would immediately get anxious. So, and then I don't know what to ask. You know, there's things like, what do you ask? How do you talk? How do you not sound salesy? Because that's another turnoff for me, is when people sound salesy, because it feels like you're just a number to them. You're not really a person, a human. They're just looking for another sale. And that's what bothers me. What would stress me out and make me uncomfortable about the networking.
Ditto all of that. And I guess I owe you and everyone out there watching an apology, because I was that salesy person. And yes, I am also an introvert. This is something you and I have in common. And most people are like, no, Laura's not an introvert. No, yeah, I am. An introvert, an extroversion is only where you gain power. Introverts gain power from within. Extroverts gain power from people. You can be a shy introvert, because shyness is a lack of confidence, or you can feel socially awkward and be an extrovert or introvert. Both can be true. And I was just an introvert. It drains me considerably to do the networking, but I was following the instructions of the boss that told me it was transactional and you needed to exchange a bunch of business cards, exchange a bunch of leads. So I did what I was told to do, and I just repelled everybody. It didn't feel comfortable. It drained all my energy. I felt, ugh, I don't like being salesy. And yet I was being forced to do it. And I disliked it thoroughly. And then I was just I was just completely depleted afterwards. And so I've come to learn there's actually two ways of networking, which is what you were alluding to. And there's that traditional or transactional networking. And there's a place for that, where it is all about the transacting of things. But there's this other piece, this relational networking that I've called it. And it's about having meaningful conversations to learn from someone and about someone to build a lasting and authentic relationship. There's that authentic word from the title that we have for today's episode. And so it's really important. And this is what's cool for us introverts. Our superpower is making deep, lasting, authentic connections. That's not to say an extrovert can't do that, but for us, that is our preference. That is what will power us up and where we feel more of our natural zone. We're able to make connections even between other extroverts to each other. That's what our superpower is. And so relational networking for me is a way to raise vibrational energy and not expend as much energy. And so from an introversion standpoint, it's definitely for me the way to go. So I'm curious for you, which way do you lean more? Is that relational, or you lean more traditional, or do you need a hybrid of both?
I lean way more relational, much more relational, because I'm a business strategy coach, and the way I help my clients is that I teach them how to build connections authentically and relationships and community. Because with the type of business I'm in, you tend to last longer if you're creating relationships than if you're just looking for that dollar in the bank. Because eventually, if you're not serving your clients and you're not actually getting them results, they're not going to continue. So for me, it's all about relationships, building those connections, showing up authentically, being open and, and honest about, who you are, because the people that you're going to attract they want to work with you because of who you are and how you're showing up. They don't want just that transformation. They do want the transformation, but they also want to know, like, and trust you, that you have similar values, missions, and all of those things.
I love that. And we've said this word authentic, and I think some people might have different interpretations or definitions. So for you, what does authentic mean? Showing up authentically, having authentic relationships. What does it mean to you?
It means just being open, being vulnerable. That was a big challenge for me too, because I grew up super shy. You brought up the word shy. Grew up super shy, and sharing my voice, being seen, being heard. Well, first I grew up, children are seen and not heard. But not seen in the proper way, being quiet and being seen. So for me, it's just, I just want people to feel like they know me as a person, and I'm open and honest. If I love the live streams like this, because when things happen, like my dog just came in, and I don't know if you heard the noise in the background, but I have dogs, I have kids. One time my smoke detector went off for 8 minutes. And I'm just open and honest. I'm like, this is me. If you don't like it, it's okay. Then we're not a fit. But if you do, then you're my people. And I want to work with people who I truly like as people and humans. And that's really important, because we, as women and men, when we're working, I'm a believer, you should be having fun and enjoying it. It shouldn't have to be like, we're going to have those stressful days. It's not all unicorns and butterflies and cupcakes every day. But at the same time, you want to work with people that you really enjoy. And I feel like if I'm going to be working, I want to create a community and a family at the same time.
Amen. I cannot underscore that enough. I totally agree. As a marketing consultant, that's what I tell people. I want you to love what you do, love who you do it with, and I want to love how you do it. And that's how I try to live my life too. And I think that's why you and I connected. Because I agree with you. It's about being authentic to self and then authentic in the way that you craft and create your environment. And we all have that ability. So, hey, Meredith, thanks so much for chiming in. We've got some comments coming in here. So Meredith is like, LOL, yes, gotta love the kids on the Zoom calls. And I loved hearing the little feet. It was just nice to hear dogs. So I no longer, my dog, we had to put my dog down a year ago, and it can't believe it's already been a year, but I still, I'm a dog person. And so I hear it, I'm like, oh, there's little dog feet. So I absolutely love that. Okay. So we definitely are gravitating towards authentic. We're okay with having kids on Zooms like Meredith was talking about, and dog being authentic like that. So let's talk about relational networking and being authentic. So one of the conversations I had just yesterday with somebody was they were so entrenched in traditional networking, and they felt the only way they could grow their business as a startup was in traditional networking, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And I just need to be seen more. And I don't disagree with that as a marketing consultant. But one of the things that I've learned is who you know and who knows you is important, but how they know you is most important. And if you constantly show up as the buy my stuff person, you are going to repel everybody, and your reputational capital it just tanks. But if you show up as a resource and have conversations like what you and I are having, that's when collaboration, that's when the magic can really happen. What's your take on this as a business strategist? What would you say to someone who's starting in their career or pivoting in their career or starting a new business? What was your interpretation of where this could really skyrocket their business without selling anything?
I love this conversation. So thank you for this question, Laura, because this is fantastic. If you're new, or even if you've been in business a while, I hope this really serves you, because there are many people out there that do what you do. I hope so, because if you're doing something nobody else does, there's probably a reason for it. So you want to make sure that you have competition, right? Competition is good. So there's other people that are doing what you do. How are you going to stand out from the crowd? So when somebody's getting bombarded, say you are in the finance space, and other people, they're being contacted by other people, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? And if you're just looking for that transaction and that sale, they're not going to probably remember your name along with the other 5 people. However, that one person that's asking the questions, that's learning about them, right? Getting into, what does this look like? If I could serve you in this way, what does that do for you? What does your life look like? Like, getting into what their vision is for, if you're able to help them, really connecting on that level, one is going to create a client or a relationship for you. But guess what? It's also going to create more, because they're going to refer you more people, because you actually show that you care about them as human beings, not just as another number or a dollar.
Oh, I love that answer, Heidi. Yes, that's absolutely it. I couldn't agree more. I heard this term from one of the organizations that Meredith and I are members of, actually, the American Businesswomen's Association. Renee Street said this term, and it just stopped me on the dime, called relational capital. And I think I might have just said it. And that's what you're talking about. Not relational, excuse me, reputational capital. Your reputational capital is the one thing you can control. And you're either depositing it into the bank of reputational capital, or you're taking away. And so buy my stuff consistently is tanking and taking away from your reputational capital. But when you're constantly showing up in a powerful way, in a unique way, and being a resource the way you're describing, then yes, people will refer to you because your reputational capital is through the roof. And I feel like there is a synergy between the strength of the relationship and the trajectory of your reputational capital. The stronger the relationship, the higher the reputational capital you have with that person. Like right now, you have very high reputational capital with me because of the way we're building our relationship. And so for me, these are my difference makers. This is what has been the single best difference in all of my career, whether I was a corporate professional or entrepreneur. It was the strength of the relationships and my reputational capital that made all the difference. So what are your thoughts on expanding on reputational capital? How important is it, especially as you're starting and you have something to launch that we'll be talking about shortly. How important is reputational capital for you?
It's very important. And I had clients that my very first group program that I did was a small group of women. And I've had one of them is like, I still connect with all of them. But the great thing is they're connected with each other. They're collaborating, they're working together, they're supporting each other. If one of them has a live stream or an event, they're all there, and they still do it years later after they were in a group together with, after. But I wanted that for them. I made sure, like, make sure you're sharing with each other, collaborate with each other. It's super, super important. And I had one of them come to me and they're like, it's amazing what you created, because we still are doing it. We're still supporting each other. People are reaching out if they feel like they've met someone that could support them. They're connecting them. So that's where the reputational capital, what you're talking about, and the importance of the relationship type of networking comes in, because it's long lasting. It's like it's beautiful when it all works, as it unfolds. So
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I love it when I've been kind of connected. Full disclaimer, a couple years ago, I dusted the cobwebs off my LinkedIn because I had just been a horrible person on LinkedIn and didn't really do much with it. And when I was able to dust the cobwebs off, there were a lot of people I hadn't connected with in double-digit years that all of a sudden I'm connecting with. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you back." And it was like we lost no time.
yeah.
And I think the only way that can happen is if we both had deposited enough in our reputational capital in each other. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's new and exciting with you?" and all of those type of things. So I feel like, to what you're saying, it is a relationship, sometimes for a season, but it can be one for life, or in and out of seasons, but it never goes away. It's always there, and you can always rely on it or tap into it, or they can rely and tap into you. When
Yeah.
someone will reach out, "Laura, I don't know if you remember me. It's been over 6 years, but I met you at," and I'm like, "Oh yes, absolutely. I do remember you. What can I do for you?" And we just end up having a great conversation. So I kind of want to dig into that a little bit, because we talked about being introverts, both of us, and we talked about asking questions, and I just kind of modeled asking questions. Is there a question that you love to ask people when you're networking? Is there an icebreaker question that you have, or are you looking for new questions?
I'm always looking for new questions, Laura. Always looking for new questions. And you've shared with me recently about, a question that you ask, and it's really learning about the person. And I use it with my son now every day, and I love it. And he's loving it. And he thinks, and he gets excited to get in the car because he knows I'm going to ask it. It's just, what's your favorite thing that happened to you today? That's what I ask him. Like, what's your favorite thing, the best thing that happened to you today? And he thinks about it. And it's different every day versus, how is school? So that's the same thing I take in now when, I utilize that gift that you gave me when I'm networking and connecting. And networking isn't just being in a room. It could be in the DMs and social media, because the worst thing that's happened, like, I just get really turned off when somebody reaches out and it's immediately like, "Hey, you want to join my group?" Or, "Hey, I can help you gain this many clients or make this much money." And I'm like, "But you don't even know me. Like, get to know me. Let's see if we have a connection. If I like if we have similar values and you're someone I want to work with, then by all means." But, ask the questions first, connect like authentically, and let's go from there. So yeah.
I love that.
Questions, but I'm always open for more, Laura.
Well, and I love that you're using that question. And I have to give props. That question, what's the best thing that's happened to you recently, is not a question I created. It comes from the speaker, Amanda Gore. I heard her at a conference, and I always tag her and give her props, because that was really her question. But I love this question so much for the reasons you described. I believe networking is a skill, it is an activity, and a mindset. It's the mindset that most people forget about. And if you have that relational networking mindset with your kids, your family, the person that's checking you out at the grocery store, you will have a much more richer experience, and you will have higher vibrational energy, and you have no idea what resource, opportunities around the corner from one of those conversations. So if you don't prejudge people and try to determine who can be your client, or who can give me that job, or who can transact that business, and you just be open to having conversations to learn from and about people, that's where the magic really lies. And I've seen it year over year over year as I've been a corporate trainer now, developing this community. And so I love that question, or, what's new and exciting with you? Anything other than, how are you?
Because guess what? I'm going to say fine.
Yes. Either fine or
you're going
to tell me.
And you don't really want to know. If I'm going to tell you, you probably don't really want to know. You're going to regret that question for sure.
Because it's not positive. Right. It's rare when somebody tells you and it's all positive. It's rare. When that happens, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it's rare. Most times it's bleh, they tell you all and you're just like, oh, I can't even absorb this right now. But so what's the best thing that happened to you? The magic of that is it requires a thoughtful answer that is positive. It gets you out of the how are you, and it avoids the fine answer. And what I love about this, and where relational networking can really intersect into all aspects of your life. So for example, in Down and Dirty Networking, we don't have meetings, we have events, because that was one of the things that people disliked about the traditional activity of networking was having a mind-numbing meeting. This is what they kept telling me. So I'm like, okay, we're going to have events. And then it dawned on me that the team, we were having team meetings. I was like, this seems kind of hypocritical. We have events for our members. We need to have something that's not a meeting. So I let the team name it. And the word, my objective, you could name it whatever you want, but the word meeting could not be in it. And we start off it's our tactical, I'm going to get it wrong. Meredith's going to correct me. Tactical team trio time. I think that's right. Tactical team trio time. I think that's right. In my dyslexic brain. But our time together. Yeah, that sounds about right. So our time together, we start out with that question. What's the best thing that happened to you in the past week? Since we meet on a weekly basis, we get together on a weekly time. So what's the best thing? And it's just a cool way to learn what's new and exciting with somebody and to elevate the energy of the room. And so you can actually, and I did this with one of my marketing clients, she's crafting the culture that she wants for her company. And I'm thinking, why are you doing it like you did it in corporate America and you dislike that thoroughly? She's like, good point. I'm like, you can craft it however you want. And I remember even in corporate America where I got this idea, when I'm in charge of a meeting, I'm in charge of the meeting. I could craft whatever I want. And so I did. I would choose these random times. I would choose these random themes because I disliked having meetings. And so even if you feel you're a corporate employee and you're watching right now, you're thinking, oh yeah, but I don't have a say in this. Well, if you're the one that's in charge of the meeting, you actually do. And you can actually change the game. And and we did change the game in the company that I was in, where all of our meetings ended up having a little bit more fun air about it. Even though we were being super productive and getting things done, it wasn't yet another meeting. And Meredith told me I got it right. So thank you, Meredith, for letting me know that I got
the name. And it's a fun name. It's like it gets them excited to come versus team meeting. You know, and one thing I just want to share.
Yeah, Laura, please.
Okay. One of the many things I love about you is, and we were using this word in the title, is your authenticity. You're like, wait a minute, we have events for our members, but we're having a meeting, which nobody likes in our business. That's not like an integrity, like, right? It's not, it's like, let's make it all on the up and up, right? Keep it consistent, which you do. So I think I love that you're always authentic. You're always open. You're always like looking how to tweak things and make things better. And more fun for your team and for your community.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Heidi. See, this is why you're such a good business strategy coach, because she reflects back to you the things, especially as women, no disrespect to my dudes out there, but especially as women, we don't necessarily pat ourselves on the back. We just keep moving forward to the next to do. So I thank you for that. And this is one of Heidi's superpowers, is making sure she reflects back to everybody that she works with. And this is what you can expect. And I can say this as I move into the next thing that I want to tell about you is I had the honor, you are the host of the Be She podcast. And I had the distinct pleasure to be interviewed on your podcast that went live last week. And we were talking about Down and Dirty Networking and this relational networking movement. And so I first want to start out with Be She. So she's an acronym. Why don't you share with everybody what the acronym is for and why did you title it that, Be She?
Well, Be She stands for be seen, be heard, and be empowered. So it's be seen, be heard, be empowered. And, you know, when I was thinking, I had this on my heart to do a podcast. I wanted to be inspiring women into becoming all they can be, creating whatever they want to create, both in their life and in their business. Yes, I'm a business strategy coach, but business isn't your whole entire life. And many times for me, when I first started, it felt like that's all it was. And I'm a single mom. So I have my kids I have to juggle. I have my animals. I have a home I'm running. There's a lot as women, we're always juggling a lot of different things, whether it's relationships, a partnership, children, a career, work, whatever that looks like for you. And many times we put ourselves last. We don't have full balance, spirituality, our health and wellness. So I really wanted to create a platform where we could talk about all of it as the woman, as the female entrepreneur, as a whole person, not just business only. So that's where it came from, and that's where it started. And the reason I developed it too is because, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I alluded to, I was very shy growing up, super scared of being seen, being heard. Didn't really share my voice, didn't trust that it mattered, right? Or my opinion mattered, my voice mattered. And as I moved into entrepreneurship, I was like, how hard can this be? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you need to go live. You need to be seen. You need to put yourself out there. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. So it was super scary. I have a whole backstory on how I did it. Actually was challenged to go live and be seen. And I bawled my eyes out on my first live stream. But to the point where I had a migraine. It was an ugly, ugly cry. Thank goodness I was in a private group. Received so much support, and then challenged again. I'm giving you the very Cliff Note version of this story. I'm very challenged again to do it for another 5 days. And I cried for the next few days, but it got less and less and less. Now I can go live on a dime. And that's why many people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. Do I get nervous still going live? Absolutely. But there's things that I do that get me motivated and into my rhythm. But that's where the whole thing became, because I noticed working with many women in the entrepreneurial space online, many people have the same fear. They're scared of being seen and heard and sharing their voice online. So that's where it was developed.
So I love that so much. I love it. And I totally resonate with everything you're saying, because you're talking to that girl too. That awkward, socially awkward, kind of shy, not knowing what to say. And the juxtaposition for me as someone who's very talkative, nobody can see. They would associate talkativeness with confidence or talkativeness with extroversion, and that's not true. So I totally hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that you're giving women a platform to feel confident and sharing your story about bawling your eyes out. I will sweat profusely. I have horrible first video ideas. I was like, oh my gosh, my first videos are horrible from a bazillion years ago. Or when I knew I was being videotaped when I was speaking, it was miserable. But one of the things you tapped on, and I love that you're really talking about the holistic approach to being seen, heard, and empowered, is because when I got the diagnosis that I did, so for those that are tuning in for the first time, it's been 6 years, March. I had to pivot my entire business online due to an autoimmune, two autoimmune and Lyme diagnosis. So right now, this is my tether to the outside world, and everything changed on the dime. I was teaching how to do things very simply, and all of a sudden, what was simple was no longer simple enough for me in that space. And so I have to really rely on very simple things. And so that social awkwardness, that lack of confidence, was at an all-time high trying to go live, not knowing if cognitively my brain's going to fail me while I'm on screen. Like the fear, like, oh gosh, I'm going to get lost. This thing's going to happen. Or my words I'm going to have difficulty actually saying the words, because that'll happen. And I started realizing, you know what? I need to practice what I preach, what I used to teach everybody else, and what I would tell myself prior to all of this. You're not going to die. You're going to sweat profusely. Your heart may race a little bit, but you're going to be okay. But what if you can impact the life of one person? And I'm always thinking, you know what? I need to get out of my way. And who's the one person that needed the message I needed to share today? Who's the one person sitting there listening right now going, oh my gosh, Heidi, I'm just like you. I bawl when I go live. Or Laura, I'm sweating profusely going live. I'm like that duck underwater. I look okay on top, but underneath, woohoo, it's going crazy. If you're that person, whether it be at work or if you're that mom or whatever the situation is, or the dad that's watching, we got you. You're not alone. And for me, that's really very important. I feel that we're all struggling on this island of alone. And I feel that that's the difference maker between what relational networking is and what you're doing from the holistic approach is once you realize you're not alone in it, you're not the only one going this. This might be your first time experiencing this, but you're not alone. When I got diagnosis, I reached out to everybody I knew that were my clients that had these same diagnoses to shorten my learning curve. It's like, okay, we need to get to remission. How do we do this? What are you doing? What do you wish you know? What's the power of hindsight that you can project for me? It was super helpful. And so I feel like that's what you're going to be doing for the women as you look at the podcast and then move into this summit that's coming up. So talk a little bit about what the summit is and what it is that you're really wanting to focus on with the Be She Summit.
Yes, thank you. I first I want to say I love how you talk about the island of alone, because as women we do feel like we're the only ones going through it, because we live in an Instagram world where everything looks perfect. And I'm a recovering perfectionist. I don't know if any of you out there are, but I'm a recovering perfectionist. I admit it. And I'm always like trying to not be so perfect. So that's my goal every day. I do have a goal every day, like, okay, you get to just do it. It may not be, it's never going to be perfect, first of all. Second of all, perfect isn't relatable, right? Perfect isn't relatable. So that's another thing that I love about the relational networking, is because you get to be relatable, because people want to connect with people that they can see themselves as, or want to get to where you are. The Be She Summit is over 20 powerhouse women, female entrepreneurs, including Laura. Laura, thank you so much so grateful that you are part of it. So thank you. And when bringing them in, it's an interview series, and that starts on Monday, and it's free series. But it's all about women and sharing how they've built their businesses, right? How they've built their business, along with juggling all the other balls in their life, how they're creating balance. So we're talking about physical health and wellness, mental health and wellness, everything that the holistic woman as a whole, amongst over 20 experts. We talk about intimacy and relationships, because that's important. I know for me, when I became a mom, it was just like, we're so focused on the little one. You also have a partner that you were, together before the baby came. So keeping that intimacy going, and in all of your relationships, not just with your partner, but also with your friendships and your business relationships as well. We also talk into spirituality and self-care, the importance of that, ladies, super, super important. So yeah, so I'm very excited about it. And I'm so grateful for all of these women who are on a mission to share their journeys and story, to empower others, women, to be seen and heard. And we talk about that, how to be seen and heard in all areas of your life. One lady that we talked, that I'm interviewing, she talks into partnership parenting, which is really interesting, because it's not about the mom and the parent up here and the child down here. It's about how to create a partnership with your children so they can be empowered to be seen and heard and create what they want to create as they're getting older too, because one day they're going to be adults, and we want to make sure they're prepared.
Oh, so beautiful. And I'm just so honored to have been asked to be on your summit. I'm super excited to have this. And this starts next week. Is that correct?
Yes. And Laura's interview is on Tuesday. So make sure you come and watch, because she's amazing. We dive deep into the networking, and she is the queen.
Aw, thank you so much. And I love that. Again, this is a holistic approach. And I want to talk to my dudes for a second. So if you're watching and you know a dude, or you are a dude, when it comes to women-only summits or women-only organizations, it's very important for men to pay attention, because this is how they can know how best to support the opposite sex. The reverse is true for women, but typically, since I was in a male-dominated industry, I already knew how to support men. I learned very quickly. In fact, I didn't know how to support women. I could support men, no problem, and do those things, but I had to learn the language of being female, and I had to learn it for myself. So if you're listening and you're a dude out there, this could be really helpful for you if you work with or have women in your lives, to understand the difference in the languaging and the challenges that are faced. For the women out there, this is a must-have for you to make sure you're having an authentic connection with self and an authentic connection with everybody else, to realize that there are other people out there that can really help and support you. So I just kind of wanted to chime in, because I really believe in that holistic approach to everything. I think that's where you're more fulfilled. And I think that's where the word empowered is better than just being valued. Because we've heard the phrase seen, heard, and valued. I say it quite often, but empowered to me is the elevation of the word value. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you brought in the men, the dudes, because when I say empowered, some men are like, oh, they're getting into their masculine. It's not about getting into our masculine. It's about just being able to also be partners with you more, because being able to be feminine and being able to create those relationships that we want that's going to benefit you as well, right? Because the men that I talk to, they want women to speak up. They want women to tell them what their needs are, because we kind of think like, oh, they should already know, but they don't know unless we ladies tell them and share it with them. And we get to do it with love. So this summit talks into all those things, and I'm really, really excited about it. And like you said, Laura, dudes, if you know of ladies that this would be helpful for, and also you're welcome to join in the conversation as well. We'd love to hear
I love
from you.
that. And I think this is where, for me, it was really helpful. This is where relational networking at its highest, because you get to learn these other perspectives. One of the things I love and that I made sure was just built in and baked in at its core for Down and Dirty Networking community is that we have 360-degree perspectives. We want every perspective on here because it's helpful to see what everyone's experience is. But that's not to say there's not a need for more of the niche specific perspectives. I am also a member of the American Businesswomen's Association, so I can have more of a female perspective. I'm very excited about this summit so I can get in touch with the female perspective, but it doesn't mean that that's the only perspective that I have. So I really want to encourage people to really lift the blinders off and allow people to shine a light on the blind spots you don't even know you have. We all have them, but we don't know we have them until someone else draws attention to it. And you're like, oh, thank you for that awareness. That's exactly what I needed today. And so maybe it's what, in this conversation, maybe we've done that for you. Maybe it's attending the summit or listening to the podcast. You have no idea. Or maybe it's learning this question about what's the best thing that happened to you that's going to open the doors, because you're going to be asking it of a more diverse population than the same people of how are you? It can be a game changer for you. And I've got story after story that proves it with some of my clients and for myself. Right now, I see a lot of doctor's appointments. And so I'll ask this of my doctor's appointments. Can I tell you how much more fun those appointments are when I ask that question? Versus like, yeah, I'm here at the doctor. Yeah, go ahead, draw my blood. Yeah, go, it's like, no, hold on a second. I get to talk to a human. Let's have some authentic connection like you're talking about. So Heidi, thank you for what you're doing with that. So we talked about today, and I kind of alluded to this, our title was Creating Authentic Connections. And you titled our episode this, why is that so important to create authentic connections?
Because people want to connect with people, especially with since the pandemic, where like many of us were isolated for a long time. You just shared your journey, Laura, and what you're excited to get out there. So I want to touch on that question again, if I may,
yes,
because
please.
What I love about that question is it evokes curiosity. So when people answer that question, you get to learn more about them, and now it evokes curiosity. You get to get curious. So the reason I titled it that is because I want to encourage people to get curious. Curiosity creates more fun. It creates more connection, and it creates long-term relationships, whether you're networking, whether in your family, whether in your business, wherever it is. So that's why I love that. Because now when my son answers it, or my daughter, or somebody I'm talking to, when I'm out, I get to go deeper with them. And it shows that you truly care and want to learn about them. And people want that. People want that. If you're selling something, that's how you're going to stand out amongst your competitors, amongst the crowd. And that's what we want to do. We want to serve with love and connect on an authentic, true level.
I love that. It's a great way to raise your vibrational energy and theirs, because to your point, when there's true connection, when people are feeling truly valued and they're being truly seen or feeling like they're seen, everyone's like, oh, how refreshing.
And that person may not be your client. It may not be your client, but I guarantee you they're going to remember you, and they will send somebody else to you. It could end up being 10 people. It could be up 5 people. You never know where that's going to go. And you, like you said, it raises your vibration. You walk away smiling. They walk away smiling, and it's a good day.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't up until that point. You can shift it on the dime just by the kind of questions that you ask. So I love that. And I love that you leaned into the act of curiosity. So one of the things we were, kind of alluding to today is what makes a great networker. And I think you just touched on it, is being curious. It's not being salesy. It's not having this great book of resources that you can rely on people. It's just being curious and genuinely care about other people. If you are more focused on having meaningful conversations to learn from and about someone, and you really have that relational networking mindset, you already stand out. because most people don't do that. And so that's kind of where my take is on what is a great networker, kind of leaning on what you're talking about. It truly is that curiosity. And back to that introvert conversation, if you lean in with the first question as what's the best thing that happened to you, based on your answer, if I just get curious, it makes it super easy to ask follow-up questions. Poof, there goes social awkwardness. Poof, there goes shyness. And now I'm totally locked in learning from this, whatever the great answer was. So for you, I mean, what is that what you think is a great networker? Is that curiosity, or is there something more that expands beyond that makes a great networker in your opinion?
I think it starts with curiosity, because you're going to find out you're going to start digging deeper and learning more about them. And who knows, maybe you vacation at the same spot. Maybe your kids are the same age, right? So by getting curious, and then guess what they're going to do? When you're serving and you're like wanting to know authentically, truly about the other person, they're automatically going to reciprocate. They can't help it, right? It's like if you say to somebody, what can I do to help you? And you help them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to want to help you and support you. So by you being curious, they're going to want to be curious as well. And the conversation is going to take off, and they may say, oh, what do you do? So it's they're actually asking you. You don't even have to go there. So it's not salesy. It takes the pressure off. And like I said, it builds that long-term relationship and the more of the potential to get referrals and things like that as well. So yeah, it makes the whole process more fun. And I don't leave drained, right? I'm not there to collect 50 business cards. I'm there to make maybe 5 truly authentic connections, whatever that looks like. And that's going to serve them longer and me longer as well, by actually building 5 authentic connections and conversations versus just collecting 50 business cards.
I love that. 5 authentic connections. I love that. I used to tell people that's a good one so if you're making 5 authentic connections, I would build on that. For me, because my brain would be so nervous early on, the game I played to make sure I was present, I need to learn 3 things about you. It's not me tell you 3 things. It's not sell you 3 things. I need to learn 3 things about you. And so if I were to do that with those 5 people, oh my God, what an amazing, if I were at a networking event, what an amazing event. But what if I just do that in my day? Okay, 5 people I need to learn 3 things about. You have no idea what you could have. I'll never forget, this is when I was out and about before diagnosis. I was going to get gas at Costco. And I just noticed this car made this U-turn and just started following me. And I was like, this car was following me. And so I pull into the gas line at Costco, and I'm just seeing this car, and the car pulls into the opposing gas lane. And so I get out to get gas, and this person walks up. She goes, "You must think I'm a crazy person. I was the car that was following you." And I says, "Everything okay?" She says, "Yeah, I saw your sign, Stress Commando, on the side of your car." And I went, "Yeah." And she just started asking me questions. Long story short, we're still connected. It's been probably 8 or 10 years since I've known her, but she hired me on the spot to be a keynote speaker for an event that she was having. And we just started asking questions. She goes, "Wait a minute, are you even a speaker?" She goes, "You haven't even told me what you do." I mean, she asked me questions, I answered, and I started asking her questions. "Well, what's the event you're looking for? What kind of speaker are you looking for? What's the objective that you need?" And she's like, "You're going to be perfect. The fact that you just asked all of these questions, that's the speaker we need." I said, "Done. Let's talk about it." And for the record, it was a paid gig, and it led to several more. And so I've learned it could have been a crappy day up until that day, until that happened. And I just was open to it. I was safe. I made sure I was by the Costco person, because I was like, this is kind of, spidey senses were tingling a little bit. But the way she approached, I was like, "Oh no, you saw the sign. That's what triggered you. You saw the sign on the side of my car." So you just never know, and you just have to be open to it. And so that curiosity, had I led with 30-second commercials and sales pitches, I don't know if the conversation would have gone the same way. I don't know if we'd still be connected this many years later.
And you don't know who they're going to connect you to. Connections build connections. They create connections.
Yeah. I'll never, the first time, and then we can kind of remember the first time that I gave the networking talk that I gave a bazillion years ago, that I've given so many times. So this was over 17 years ago that I did this. So I give this talk, and it's the first time I'm giving this talk. So I'm nervous as I'll get it. I'm shy, all the things that we talked about. And I did a very stereotypical trade show table. And by that, I had all girly girl cosmetics on it. for my side hustle that I wasn't there to talk about. I was there to talk about networking and energizing your networking attitude. And so I knew what the prejudice was for that table. And I had some people that would just not even look at me and just walk right past me. Like I was invisible. And then I had some people who would just kind of side eye me and go. So I figured they were cosmetic reps kind of sizing me up. And I had less than 5 people in a room over 80 actually come up to me and talk to me and engage and ask, hey, so what do you got going on here? Is this your first time here? Are you our speaker today? Just curious as all get out. Made me feel amazing, calmed my nerves down. But here's the thing that I didn't expect. When I got introduced, I had written an intro for them to say. They didn't say the intro. This person said how she knew me. And at the time, she's like, if you haven't had a chance to connect with Laura and you're here in the Dallas area, she's connected with over 5,000 people locally that she can help you with. And she made me sound amazing. But that 5,000 connection, that is what got everyone on their seat. Because so if those of you that walked past her, and I had said nothing to her about what I was having as an example, but you saw all the people that didn't look at me just shrink. Like, oh no, that's what you said no to. And I realized that's what I did to so many people by myself, let me keep talking. I don't know what opportunities were not offered to me. I'll never know. I'll never know what connections I missed, what conversations I missed, because I wasn't curious and being the good networker like you were talking about, Heidi. And so that has always stuck with me. I was like, wow, this is a good lesson that I'm being reflected back to me. Like, wait a minute, I need to be very kind and grace and different in my approach. And so it was just a full circle moment for me. But what is your take on that? Would you agree with that you'll never know what you don't get?
I totally agree. And you get to learn about people by being curious. You get to learn. And before we jumped on here, you had mentioned something that stuck with me. And it was that, by learning like when you're learning about people, you get to, not only do you get to know them, but you get to learn, you get to ask for feedback, you get to ask questions, and you're going to learn more about your business and what your needs of your clients or customers are by asking those questions. But you get to ask those questions by first getting curious about them, because they're going to be more open to sharing with you once they have that connection with you. So that was super powerful. It's because, Laura, you had said, like, when you get to ask questions from your potential customers and clients about feedback about what you do or your business or what their needs are, you get to use that verbiage now. And that's another way of building connections with your audience, because as experts in our space, we know our terminology, right? We know what the words are, but our clients or customers may not use those words. That may not be going on in their head. The pain points that you think they might have, but they're not using those words in their head and what's keeping them up at night. So by building these relationships and getting curious opens the door for you to ask those other questions, so you can get more information about your potential clients and customers, and then use that verbiage in your messaging.
I love that. Now you're speaking all of the marketing terminology. So
you're the one that brought it up at the beginning, so I wanted to make sure.
That's just a brilliant. No, that's a brilliant strategy. I'm so glad you brought that up. And yeah, when we were talking backstage, it was about a conversation I had yesterday with someone so entrenched. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. So entrenched in traditional networking. I said, have you even leveraged the brain power of the people you know? That's how I started Down and Dirty Networking. But I did this back in corporate days too, where I was having trouble being seen and heard. Being the youngest female minority, it was a struggle in the position that I was in a male-dominated industry. And I wish I would have had the network and I wasn't just on the island of alone. But when I did connect with certain people and years into my career, I was able to ask best practices. How are you seen? How do you speak up? How do you do these things? That's when it became a professional easy button for me. And I was like, oh, this is a way for me to not have to just do trial and error. And so anything I've ever launched, I've done it this way, getting feedback from people. And Down and Dirty Networking is no different. I reached out to people and asked them what they liked and disliked about networking. And the first reaction that the first 3 to 4 people said to me was, oh, networking. Oh. It wasn't even a word. It was just, they would shrink and make that noise, and just, that was the body language they were giving me. Oh, networking. And I'm like, one person was sworn off of it, but all of them told me, I just dislike all the fluff. And they kept saying the word fluff. And I went, there's a word here that I've heard more than once. I need to pay attention to it. And so cutting the fluff of traditional networking became the tagline. Most everything out of the mission statement, mind-numbing torture, listening to people telling me what they disliked. So to your point, did I transact any business from those folks? No. But they totally made things clear and easy for me simply by being curious about them. And they appreciated thoroughly. And of course, that law of reciprocity. Laura, how can I support you? What can I do to help you? I was like, no, you just did. That's what I really needed. Thank you for allowing me to just quickly ask a few focused questions. That's what I really needed, was your honest feedback. So thank you. And so I feel like that going for the brain power, as I call it, is a missed opportunity in relational networking because so many people are so focused on traditional. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
And I don't know, but if you could hear my dog, she's been whining. She's like, she's very vocal. I think she wants to get in the conversation. So she's like,
I think she
wanna
should.
connect.
I mean, I'm a dog person, so it's all good. And just
I
go,
just
go.
didn't know if you heard her whining, and she's very
gosh,
vocal. So she's,
I
yeah,
love it. What's your dog's name?
her name's Mama Dog. I have 3, but her name's Mama Dog. Yeah, she's an old
Aw.
girl, but she's very like, she'll howl and she'll whine. She'll, oh, oh. So that's what she was doing. She was making her bed and then kind of like being vocal about it. So I didn't know if you could hear her. I'm like, I know you want to get
I love that. So how old? So Mama Dog is what kind of dog?
She's a pit bull boxer mix.
Oh, geez.
And
Also big dog.
yeah, she's a big dog. She's a big girl. She's like 65 pounds, but she's the biggest mush. She had, I rescued her. She had 4 babies. So I rescued her and her 4 pups years ago. So she's probably, let's see, she's my son's 12. So she's about 12, or she's probably 13.
Aw.
Yeah. I have a geriatric crew here. My little one's 15, and then my husky shepherd mix is like, he's probably around 11 or 12.
You've got a good group of dogs, and they are
Yeah.
so lucky to have you. I love.
I'm lucky to have them. They
Yes,
rescued
I
me.
love dogs. And Meredith had chimed in. Yeah, poor Chase. She was thinking of mine, poor Chase. Yeah, everyone was more in love with coming over to my house to see Chase than myself or Derek, my
Aw.
husband. No, everyone fell in love with our dogs. So yeah, it's been a huge loss not having him there. But yes, I love dogs. Love doggies. So I'm glad that you've got yours by you. Enjoy it. Soak it all up. So Heidi, I guess I could keep going on and on and on, but I guess to just kind of wrap things up, what's the best way that I can support you and the best way that anyone watching can support you?
This is it. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here with you. I'm so grateful to have time with you. I adore you, Laura. You are just so your energy is just infectious, and you're always smiling, and just you light up the room. You light up my day every time I talk with you and see you. So thank you for being you and for what you're doing in the world and for being seen and being heard, and empowering other people how to, network without feeling salesy and slimy. And if anybody feels that they want to, check out the summit, it's free. Love for you to join us for that and join in the conversation, because we're going to be talking about takeaways each day in a separate offline space. So we get to know you. You get to be seen and heard inside of there. So yeah, I would love to get to meet, all of you who are watching.
That's awesome. So if you want to connect with Heidi, if you would like to know more information about the summit and possibly check out my Tuesday segment, because I'm on Tuesday, you said, right?
And there'll be replays, but yes, Tuesday. So she has to come watch.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more, just drop in the comments and we'll hook you up. So just drop the comments or send a direct message and I will connect you, because that's the whole point, right? It's about creating authentic connections. So we'll do a warm introduction, and that way you can get connected to learn a little bit more about Heidi, but also about the summit, or even connect to the podcast, watch future episodes, or maybe you can connect to the one that launched last week where I was on. And I'll be posting actually Heidi, the podcast, because it's all about networking. It'll actually be posted on the Down and Dirty Networking page. So you'll be seeing that come on the page as well. But Heidi, as we're wrapping up, any last minute words you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes. Thank you for just, being here with us. But most importantly, thank you, Laura. How can whoops, there she is. See, she wants
I love it. Hi, Mama Dog.
How can I support you?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. One, being on here was huge support. That was the biggest support ever. So everyone, as you're watching, drop some love for Heidi. And then if you or anyone you know would love to test out this relational networking, if they're still kind of, butting it. Yeah, but how is this? I would love it if they would be my guest at the virtual sneak peek event, April 19th. It's a free event. It's a good chance for people to check it out and be curious about what this is all about in a safe environment. And if it's for them, great. If not, that's great too. But I feel like you need to experience it and then recognize how you can duplicate this in your own life, but also be a part of the community. So if that's something you're so inclined, I would appreciate that support as well.
I can't wait to share it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Heidi, why don't you hang out backstage with all our wonderful calorie-free treats backstage, and I'll be with you shortly. But thanks, Heidi.
Bye, everybody.
Wasn't she fabulous? Wasn't that a great conversation? I saw so many of you popping in live. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching on replay. And Meredith, thank you for chiming in on chat, and everyone else who's been chiming in on chat if you've been watching on replay. If you want to know more about Heidi, like I said, or you want to connect and find out what her Be She podcast and Be She Summit is all about, drop me a message in the comments, and I will connect you, or DM me, drop me a DM, and I'll definitely connect you. But I want your action step. I hope your takeaway from this discussion was to be curious. So I'm going to encourage you, as your action step for this week, is to ask at least 3 people what's the best thing that happened to them today. Just do it through the next week. And if you're more of a go-getter, do 1 person a day. And it can be a coworker, it could be a family member, it could be the cashier, it could be someone at the gas station. It doesn't matter where it is. It could be your clients. It could be a vendor. If you get a sales call, I'm telling you, when you ask this question, it turns everything on its head. So I want you to do that, and then let us know how it turns out. So that's your action step, is to ask your question. What's the best thing that happened to you today or recently? You can edit the ending, but ask it of 1 person a day, or at least 3 people in the next week. So I hope that's helpful. All right. Now, if you want to know more about the sneak peek, that's coming up April 19th that we talked about, go ahead and direct message me, drop hashtag sneak peek, and I will get you the information so that you can learn more and send you an invitation. So if you want to register, you can secure your spot. Spaces are limited, and you will want to attend. This is going to be April the 19th. And if you want to learn more about this event, if you're feeling like you're on the island of alone, if you'd love to have more meaningful conversations and not feel salesy and not be sold to, then this is going to be for you. So just drop hashtag sneak peek in a direct message. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. And if so, let me know in the comments, give us a thumbs up, or tag a friend that could use this tip today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more tips and videos. And remember to tune in every Wednesday afternoon between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for this live networking know-how, and catch any of our replays on our Down and Dirty Networking, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube page. Again, thank you for watching, and super thank you, Heidi, for joining me today for an amazing conversation. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, happy networking.